Time for Four Downs, a chance for our panelists to compete with one another like they love to do so much. Today, down number one, who's to blame in Cincinnati? Is it Andy Dalton or is it Marvin Lewis for the Bengals being ousted without a postseason win yet again? Ross, who do you say it is?
Oh, well, I think it's clearly Andy Dalton. I mean, he had 3 of the most inexcusable turnovers I've ever seen. I mean, he dives 4 yards short of the first down and fumbles. Both interceptions were dreadful. And if you want to point the finger at a coach, how about Jay Gruden? I don't understand how he's getting all these interviews for head coaching opportunities. There was nobody open. How many times Andy Dalton throw the ball away or tuck it and run for 2 yards? Not a good performance by Jay Gruden.
You mean you didn't like the 4th and 3 play call for the 50-yard downfield pass into double coverage? Who do you blame more in this game, Gary?
You know, I'm going to go with Marvin Lewis because now he has a track record of being a really poor postseason coach. He's 0-5. I remember the game they lost to the Jets in the wild card round a few years ago where he burned both of his instant replay challenges in the first quarter on what were relatively insignificant plays, if I remember correctly.
Like a 7-yard out or something like that?
So
yeah.
I put this one on Marvin Lewis. Andy Dalton, to me, he's still a young quarterback. I think he's going to get better.
Howard?
Wow, Andy Dalton's going to get better. Andy Dalton is the reason why they lost. You know, turning the ball over, I've said many times you can throw the ball to anybody. If you have great receivers, almost any quarterback can step in and play. Obviously, I'm wrong. Andy Dalton has proven me wrong. You cannot have great receivers standing around you and have a quarterback just come in and make plays. And the other thing is the receivers themselves didn't really show up. They didn't get wide open. I expected A.J. Green to be blazing down the field and guys chasing him. Didn't happen.
A.J. Green's been quiet in all 3 postseason games that he's gotten to play in his young career. After tearing a couple of guys down, let's build somebody up with our wild card round MVP. Who's your MVP from the wild card round, Howard?
Oh, Kaepernick, man. I mean, he just played great. Did a great job running with his legs. When things were breaking down around him, he found a way to make plays. And that's what you really expect a quarterback to do. What you really want a quarterback to do is you want to find a guy that when everything goes away, I can still make a play. He did it.
Gary?
It's hard to argue against Kaepernick because he obviously is the reason that the 49ers won that game. But just to be a little bit different here, I'm going to go with Andrew Luck. When you're down 4 touchdowns early in the third quarter and you single-handedly, with the help of T.Y. Hilton, bring your team back for the second greatest playoff comeback victory in NFL history, I'll give it to Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I can argue with Kaepernick and I can argue with you because I've got the right answer and I'm going to win 4 downs today. It's Alex Smith, the only quarterback in the history of the NFL with 350 yards passing, 50 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions in the same game since 1960, regulation or postseason. Alex was awesome. It's not his fault that they lost.
You know who's
a huge win.
Well, you know who's a huge fan of that answer, Ross? Our producer, Troy Benjamin. I mean, you should have heard the celebratory noises in my ear when you said Lord. Alex Smith. You know what? You're right, though. For all the worries about Alex Smith, boy, did he acquit himself nicely this weekend.
He was awesome.
He was fantastic. Finally, we move on to third down. And you know, Troy usually controls the winner, so Ross has the inside track. You guys are going to have to step it up if you want to knock off Ross. Third down, the losing team from this weekend with the brightest future. Gary, who do you think that is?
I think that's clearly the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, they found themselves the second half of the season. Chip Kelly clearly found his quarterback in Nick Foles. They just need to shore up the defense a little bit more, maybe get a little bit more firepower on that offense, and I think Philadelphia is the team to beat in the NFC East next year.
Howard?
I think Kansas City, all those Pro Bowlers, plus you're going to get 2 of your best defenders back. Your pass rush will be there. You'll have guys there. You'll be able to run the ball. Alex Smith, as you guys said, had a great game. If Andy Reid can figure out how not to throw the ball every down, they're going to have a great chance to go to the Super Bowl next year.
That has been a perennial problem for Andy Reid. Who do you have, Ross?
This is a tough one. I think you could go really with any of these teams. I'll probably lean towards Gary and go with the Philadelphia Eagles. They really don't have a difference maker on defense. I think they'll rectify that in the offseason. They'll still have that offensive line and Deshaun and LaShawn and Riley Cooper if they re-sign him, and Nick Foles should only get better. So I'm going to go with the Eagles as well.
Now, recently we've had Jerry Jones saying he thinks the NFL could expand their postseason to 8 teams a conference. Now, maybe he just wants to find a way for his Cowboys to get into the postseason. Nonetheless, our fourth down question, expansion in the NFL playoffs. Howard, what do you think of that?
Absolutely not. I think, when you put more in, it's less. You're going to get less of a of a product that the NFL and the league and the country wants to see. You really want to see the best teams playing. I think you're giving more guys in. You'll get the NBA, you'll get hockey. You won't get the best of the best, and that's what you got right now.
Yeah, and by the way, I think Jerry Jones' stipulation was there's an 8th team only if they reside in Texas, and they are 8-8 that year. I think that was the stipulations for the 8th team. I'm all for this. The TV windows are already there to add a 7th team. You have, the Saturday 1 o'clock window, the Sunday night window. The money would be crazy. We already talked about the ratings and how many people watch the games. Plus, if you think about it, there wouldn't be, ever since 2000, there would not be one 7-9 team that would have made it as the 7th seed. There would have been a few 8-8 teams, but we've also had 11-5 and a lot of 10-6 teams that don't make it, which I think is a far bigger travesty than an 8-8 team getting in.
Well, all these windows that he just opened, I'm going to shut tight right now because I think it would be a terrible idea. The thing that makes the NFL playoffs so special is the fact that it's hard to get in. For every time you have a 10-6 team like Arizona that doesn't get in, or the Patriots going 11-5 without Brady in 2008 and they don't get in, you'd have too many instances of 8-8 teams getting in. You do not want to reward mediocrity. You don't want to reward the Cowboys for being 8-8, no matter what Jerry Jones says. Keep it the way it is.
You know what? I'll tell you what. That was a strong finish from Gary. I mean, a really strong finish. But I like the ingenuity from Ross on that answer. And the Alex Smith pick, I mean, come on. He is our winner today of 4 downs.
This is all predetermined as far as I'm concerned.
This is the way it works. If you make our producer, Troy Benjamin, happy, you win hardware. For Ross Tucker, he wins hardware today.